What is up, everybody? It is time for Teamfight Talkshow. This is episode 8, and boy, have I missed all of you. And among the people I've missed is Frodan, my co-host. How's it going, Frodan?
It's going pretty well. Past couple of weeks have been really fun, particularly with the new set 3.5. I think the mid-set update was really needed. I really appreciated what the first half of set 3 brought, but I've been having a lot of fun right now. Urgot complaints aside, I think I've been having a lot of fun.
I mean, for me too. I had actually stopped playing a little bit towards the end of the last set, just because I'd play infrequently, but it just wasn't as interested in it. But all the new units I think are really good. It kind of shows to me that when you do this kind of you learn a lot in the first couple months, like the designers do, about like what is really cool about a set. So going and taking those lessons and investing it into the next part of it is, I think, really cool. So I've been excited about that too. But I also want to go ahead and introduce our guest, Polt, here. Polt, a person who I used to watch long before I was even working in esports, competing in StarCraft 2 stuff. How's it going, Polt?
Hey, doing very good. Yeah, with the new update, I'm really enjoying TFT right now and everything good.
Nice. And I gotta say, you are in a very elaborate room right now. I mean, all the furniture behind you and everything it's shocking how detailed and elaborate that room is.
Is it? I mean, it's just a normal room.
I know. I'm just joking. I interview so much now. Ever since quarantine happened, I feel like I do so many video interviews with pro players, and there's usually just a big blank wall behind them. I think it's very funny. Well, either way, Polt, so you've been enjoying this set. What have you most been enjoying about the changes that you've seen in the past couple of weeks?
So, I mean, it doesn't really matter in my opinion, but just having like a big change like that in the middle of the set, I think it's the biggest thing that I can enjoy. So, game keeps changing, and there's new things, and new things means it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, either way, as we get into the start of the show, I should let you all know we're going to do our normal thing where we talk to our guest and learn a little bit about them, especially because TFT, it's always got a lot of people might be aware of some of the personalities in the scene, but a lot of people might not. So it's always cool on this show that we're able to help learn a little bit more about the people that are streaming and competing. We've got some news, a patch review, and we haven't had too much time of it being out because we're doing the show a little earlier today. And then we're gonna end the show with Polt's tier list. So at the start of the show, actually before we were even filming, Frodan, you were talking about how the last time you saw Polt was 8 years ago at NASL. So I mean, I think maybe you're the best to lead a little bit, so the questions or discussion around where Polt comes from, because you were more into that scene than I was. I was just following as a bystander.
That's right. That's back when State League Travis was kind of running the show in his own podcast. Yes. But for people who aren't familiar, Polt is a StarCraft 2 legend. Has multiple championships. Has competed both from his homeland in Korea and also abroad, and then has kind of transplanted himself in the USA and is now Captain America. Are you still going by that nickname, Polt?
I like that nickname a lot. So as long as people call me like that, and I don't want to keep that.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about that. People primarily know you for StarCraft. What drew you to TFT, and what makes you enjoy the game enough that you just want to kind of stream it for a long time now?
So yeah, like the same with all the other games, started as just to enjoy it. I mean, just heard that new kind of games coming out, and what is it? I don't know if you guys heard about it, but in Korea, there's like a YouTube video or like some like ad video about the TFT, and it was really fun, well made. It's called like Dudung Dungjang, something like that. And after watching, okay, it looks interesting, so let's try it out. Like, I mean, I played set 1, but I haven't played set 2 at all. So, I mean, didn't really think I was going to play TFT again. But after seeing those kind of stuff, gave it one more try, and it was so fun. So I was stuck at like platinum or diamond, like something like that. And want it to be better. No matter what I play, I just want to be better at those games. And meanwhile, I was trying to get better. I think I found it was really fun. So decided to like stream and play more of this game.
That's great. That's great. A lot of people who play StarCraft say that TFT reminds them of StarCraft. Do you find the same thing, or do you think it's different?
Well, I am not sure about that, but there's some aspects those two games share, but mostly they are quite different in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, they seem.
I thought so too. I thought so.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was really surprised to hear that. I mean, I guess like I mean, if you've been playing League of Legends and first-person shooters for the past couple of years, then yeah, maybe there's some moments in TFT that you're feeling are a little more similar to StarCraft 2,
Yeah.
but I don't know, it's kind of fair.
Maybe they play Protoss. If it goes. Yeah. So Polt, you kind of were the person that I think a lot of people look to when, in the very beginning of the set, you played pretty aggressively, and I think other people weren't really doing that same thing. And that play style, everyone started analyzing really deeply, and then you started gaining a lot of popularity within the scene. What was that moment like for you? Kind of like feeling that recognition. Were you kind of surprised to see so many people, kind of tune in and like listening for every opinion, then just copying everything that you were doing?
Yeah, that was really surprising because I didn't really pay attention to like other players how they play. I just did like after I played like quite a few games, I figured okay, this is probably the correct way to play, and I just did it. But surprisingly, everyone told me, "Oh, you play so differently from others." I didn't really understand why at the beginning, but now I do.
Right. I think people also say that on the Korean server in particular, they also play pretty aggressive. Do you think that's just kind of the mentality that, when high-level Korean players approach a game like this, that's the style? Do you talk to any other Korean players about this?
No, I don't really talk to Korean players, but I watch both Korean streams and the English streams. So maybe that's why, because I watch both of them, and there's a case where the Korean players stretch better, and there's also a case there NA players stretch better. I just try to mix it up. So I think I'm kind of in between, and maybe that's why NA people think I'm pretty aggressive.
Got
Hey,
it. Okay.
I'm kind of curious, Polt. I think on this show and in general, I can think of a lot of people who they kind of come in two camps, right? The people we talk to tend to be people who just started streaming for the first time, and Teamfight Tactics is their first time that they've ever like competed and streamed a game semi or completely professionally. Or you have a lot of people who came from like the card game world, like Hearthstone and stuff like that. You're obviously the first person we were talking to that's coming from the StarCraft 2 side. So what is it like for you sort of seeing the differences in the community and the way things work in Teamfight Tactics versus StarCraft 2? Do you think there's a lot of similarities or a lot of differences, or what's it been like transitioning over?
I think there's a lot of similarity in terms of Twitch viewers or Twitch chat. But about the other
They all love
stuff,
telling you what to do in every game.
they no matter what I do, they just want to coach me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe in StarCraft 2, I at least had those kind of improvement that I am good at the game, right? Because I won some trophies. Here, I just started playing, so I don't have something like that. So I just have to hear them and endure it. But one day it'll be changed. And besides that, I think they are just same. Yeah.
Do you enjoy the difference? Sorry, Fred. Really quickly though, do you enjoy the difference in streaming this game, because obviously it gives you an easier time like interacting with your chat, and there's some more downtime versus like the very intense times when you're playing StarCraft 2?
So at first I thought that's really cool thing because when I played StarCraft 2, and I can't talk or like interact with the chat, but
Right.
when I watch like different streams like TFT or card games, those kind of stuff, they always interact easily. I thought it's cool, but after I actually started streaming TFT, not so much for me because my throat's not that strong. I realized that if I keep talking, then it hurts. So I had to keep drinking water a lot, and
Right.
I had to go to the bathroom too often.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
me. That's me too. Yeah. Gosh, that's really funny. Do you have any goals in TFT? Do you want to actually be competitive, or are you just streaming it because it's really fun right now?
I think I want to be competitive. I mean, eventually. Right now, I'm just trying to get better, and there's a big tournament coming up, and I want to play well there.
And do you want to be like the best in TFT? Is that your aspiration, like lifting trophies and all that?
Yes.
I mean that makes sense. I assume as much coming from the StarCraft 2 side where you've been really competitive. I know we've got a little bit of static coming from Frodan's mic. We're working on
Sorry, guys.
fixing that. No, it's all good. So regardless, I mean, it must be really cool. What do you think of the state of the TFT esports scene compared to StarCraft 2? Because I mean, TFT esports, it feels like has had kind of a slow start, and Riot's starting to do more with it. Probably right around the time that you're showing up, right? And obviously, Giant Slayer has done a lot of stuff. But for you, when you look at all the different tournaments and opportunities, what's your take on TFT esports right now?
So, I mean, maybe I'm too egoistic, but anyways, when I moved to the US, I don't know why, but StarCraft 2 started making those big WCS tournaments and all of the stuff. And I moved to the US again back here after my military service. And TFT, I mean, Riot's making big tournament suddenly. So since I'm going to stay here or live here for a long time, I believe TFT is going to have many big successful tournaments in esports.
Because of you.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So then Polt's gonna win a few championships and then move on to the next game, and then
yeah, exactly. It's nice of you to really just rev all these esports titles.
Thank you.
Developers can start paying you to come and compete in their tournaments and make them popular.
The timeline is pretty interesting because when Polt started streaming set 3 and TFT started grinding, that's when Riot also had started posting job listings for esports product lead for TFT. So,
they were waiting for Polt to show up. Exactly.
Yeah. They were just wait. Oh, Polt started streaming. We can start taking this seriously now.
Yeah.
So I guess basically that's the light questions that we want to ask, and I'm sure we have other questions from the fans, and we have other things that we can talk about with the game. But Travis, if you want to move on with
I was just about to say I think we're headed into the news section now as our fancy graphic gets updated. So I know that we've had a couple different tournament updates. So you want to break it down, Fred? And I know that Team Liquid had their Galaxy qualifier, yes?
Yeah, so every week, Team Liquid's hosting their qualifiers, except for that one week where they canceled it in the middle. But it seems like they're hitting their stride.
We don't talk about this stuff anymore.
Administratively, it seems like they've hit their stride. And last qualifier, a Diamond player was able to win. I don't know if he's still Diamond, but that guy goes by Bowie. I've seen him in the forums, like on the subreddit, for example, posting a lot. And I think a lot of people view this as like, this shows it. It's all RNG. There's just the skill expression isn't really there. But I think that what's important to understand is that this is actually in general a good thing, because if you make it so that the players who aren't able to invest the time to grind all the way to challenger, unable to even compete whatsoever, and give them any kind of chance to make it, then I think the longevity of TFT is actually very low. This kind of stuff is actually important to show why TFT is really great as a game, because it's accessible for all kinds of people. The problem is when the qualifier is only bronze to gold people because there just wasn't enough spots, and you don't save spots for the challenger players. But overall, I'm pretty happy that for Bowie that he was able to get this, because the previous week Robinson's qualified and that guy's like constantly in top 10. So it's a good range of people that you'll see in the qualifier.
Polt, do you like to see this? Oh, sorry. I
just want to actually toss it back to Polt and ask if he even competed in this qualifier at all. Or any
I didn't know that Diamond player qualified. It's interesting.
What's your immediate?
Does it rub you the wrong way that
does that make you unhappy?
I mean, I think it's okay. Anyways, So even though you're a very high challenger player, you might get unlucky or you might make some big mistakes and you might get knocked out of the first round because that TL tournament was like if you get bottom four from your first round, you get out, right? I mean, when I played StarCraft 2, it was same. So if it's like best of one, it's possible to lose to like weak players all in or anything. I mean, I think in online tournament, I think I lost to a diamond guy like one time. So it happens in other games as well.
So it's not the most
time.
concerning
Over
thing.
a decade. Yeah, I lost that one time in a decade. That's true. I actually did beat Stefano one time in a 1v1, but then it was because he had a bunch of challenges and obstacles in the way.
This is making me realize I need to sign up for these qualifiers because I've hit diamond level before, so I feel like maybe I'm the next great TFT player.
That's right.
There's a lot of silence.
Right. It's working. It's working. If Bowie can do it, Travis, you can do it. That's the whole point of this headline. Is to inspire the masses and give them hope that they can take down Polt.
I'm sorry, but when it's best of 3, best of 5, or more games, then I don't know if Diamond player has any chance there.
All right, never mind. I'm out. I'm not signing up for this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So, you've played in these qualifiers, right, Polt? How did they go for you? Was it just were you able to make them?
I didn't play like every single one, but I think I tried like a couple of times, but didn't work out that well for me. But because my priority is qualifying from the ladder or the ranked points.
Yeah. That's great.
Do you find the qualifiers to be useful at all as practice?
Not so much because it's only like so every single round is like with different people, right? Until it's the final round. So I don't see it that useful as a practice tool.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and also the incentives are a little bit weird because I think if you place like top 4 every game, you're still not necessarily going to win. You have to you're incentivized to like play very aggressive and like try to go for top 2, which also can result in bottom 2s sometime. So I do think that it's a different type of environment where versus ladder, if you play for top 4 every time, you're just going to climb consistently.
Yeah.
And that's the consistency that's been rewarded, which is ultimately what I think people want to see long term in a game like TFT.
Well, moving on to our next news update, I'm looking at this Cloud9 TFT Nebula NA qualifiers Twitter post, and I see a familiar face.
That's right, Doa. We'll be casting it again.
Yes. Who else will be casting with Doa?
I hope whoever it is, it's equally handsome.
Oh, I don't know about that. But his hair in this picture does match the background very well. So that's good.
Personation of the highest form of flattery.
Yeah. Well, either way, since you're casting this, you want to break down what this tournament's going to be or what this qualifier is going to be?
Yeah, this is basically what Polt was alluding to. Cloud9 is hosting like ladder-based qualifications to go to the tournament and ultimately seed for the championships in North America. Polt's been doing really well, getting to the ladder positions. And it'll be 5 competitive weeks where each player, basically will be dropped over time, and it'll be counted over 4 weeks. You can go ahead and look throughout the entire news post, but it's going to be starting very, very soon. And every single, I think, other week, they're going to be taking that snapshots based off the ladder and give them points. And then the question will be, who are the 12 invites? Because we know the top 20 ladder spots will be given away, and it'll be seeding to a top 16. But I'm curious who Cloud9 is going to invite, because that might be one of the more contentious parts of this entire structure, which is who gets to bypass all of this and just get a direct invite. And so it's definitely something that's interesting. I think Polt actually is tied number 1 in points at the moment, along with Sox. Is that correct, Polt?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm clicking on the spreadsheet. It says Polt and Sox both at 240 points right now on the ladder snapshots, and then Milk right behind them at 220. And then Robin Songs, but he's gone through the TL qualifier, so I'm not sure how that actually works. And then Sphinx, GV8, and Taco Bell Wi-Fi. So yeah, this tournament I'm really looking forward to. It starts in just a couple of weeks, which is great because I'll be taking a 2-week miniature vacation. well, not really vacation, go see my family, and then when I come back, it'll be time for the official championship to really
buckle in, get ready. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about this. I do like that C9 and TL, and I think we talked about this previously, but I do like that their takes on a TFT thing are different, and I think the variety of sort of formats and approaches to doing this, it's kind of cool to see the different ways that happen. So
yeah. The one thing that's actually kind of hard though is that there's like a 10 game requirement, right, in order to get the account to register the points. And a lot of players also have multiple accounts, so this is a little bit weird with how the standings and seeds are going to go. And if you read the announcement, it's actually funny because they treat each account like it's its own individual person. So it's like, oh, mismatched socks at number 2, we'll have to watch out for mismatched socks at number 3. And it was kind of funny the way that they wrote that announcement, which
that is good. All right, so we were talking about this a little bit beforehand as well. Tactic Tools has been released, which is a website where now we can look at Polt's, and we were doing this right before the show started, Polt's profile and learn a lot about him through this. But this was something that you added to the show notes, Frodan, and I had not seen. This looks really cool.
Yeah, the website here, Tactics Tools, is very fun as like a summary of your profile in a visually fun way. So what you do is you type your name in. So in this case, let's type Polt in. So Polt's your
Polt
account
SC2.
is Polt SC2. And then it'll give you a little snapshot of like your top 4%, your win percentage, just like LOL chess. But it gives you a little pentagram of like how your skills are balanced. And so, Polt, according to this, your compositions are S tier, and your economy is A, like very close to S, and then pretty well balanced between your flexibility, how you adapt to galaxies, and your execution. Do you agree with this?
I mean, that's very interesting, but since I don't really know how they like do that stuff. I mean, I don't know based on what they make that kind of result. Since I don't know, but maybe they have their own ways to do it, and it looks like it's fine with my place. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense a little bit. If you click the Galaxies tab,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I think that's one of the more interesting one, which is it shows how well you're doing, like what galaxies you perform best on versus what you don't perform well on. So, according to this poll, your best galaxy are Treasure Trove and Galactic Armory, and then your worst one is Medium Legends. Do you find that to be true as well?
I always liked the Treasure Trove and the Galactic Armory because I don't know, everyone says that, but I think I'm kind of unlucky. So when I have more items and more gold, I can play better. That's what I always thought. And you have more items on Galactic Armory and Treasure Trove. So I think that's why I have good results. But with the Medium Legends, maybe I play too aggressive compared to others. So like those greedy players get paid off there, I guess.
Do you think, Polt, that like looking at this, there'd be like, is it more interesting, or is there anything like helpful for you here? Like, would you be able to look at this and say like, oh, if I want to get better, maybe I should. I mean, I think Medium Legends just got removed, right? But like, let's say it wasn't, you would be able to say, I guess I need to figure out how to play Medium Legends better.
I think it helps me quite a bit because anyways, since there's like different kind of galaxies, I have like my own different kind of strats based on those galaxies, how it works. But I'm also aware of that I'm weak at something, like for example, Medium Galaxy or stuff like that. But I didn't take it too seriously, in my opinion, because the games anyways played like almost similarly. But after seeing that numbers, I feel like I need to take that more seriously.
Yeah. So there's some value here. You can think about stuff and look at it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to say that there wouldn't be value for most people, but sometimes for pro players, they're like, I mean, I already know about everything that this website would show me, and I think it's cool to see that there's value across the board. And yeah, I don't know, it's a pretty cool website.
Like
I'm glad it shows it.
It's just data. Like you can draw conclusions if you like, right? Like some profiles it shows that, they're like F in flexibility, but that's because they're just playing what they feel like is most effective to climb. You're talking about, Socks or Fluffy, like maybe they don't get high scores right now on their main accounts, but the idea is that there are some things that you can take as a conclusion away, which is also, I do want to say, a skill in itself. I think a really valuable skill is learning how to interpret data correctly in these kinds of games, whether you're playing TFT or if you're playing card games or you're playing anything else.
Yeah, very true. Finally, on our news post, we have the Giant Slayer finals, EU versus NA. That just plays. Frodan, you want to break that down?
Yeah, so I casted the Giant Slayer Series finals on this channel with Doa, and we got to see Gunmei dominate along with Crow. And Crow actually did very well up until the last round, where I think he played try to go for first, and he got 8th, which we've all been there. But him and Gunmei pretty much were neck and neck for a long time. Crow got second. Gunmei got first, 5th, first, and then second. So it was very tightly contested. I do want to give a big shout out to Aegon because Aegon plays one of the craziest styles, I think, in TFT. He goes down to 40 health by the end of stage 3, and he's every game because he just I'm just gonna lose streak. You cannot lose streak while Aegon's in the lobby. He will outdo you and lose even harder. And yet every single time he was making a comeback and placing in the top 4 or winning the lobby, or sometimes he just took a little bit too much damage. He got online and then just died. But I wasn't sure if it would work out, and it seemed that has completely mastered this style. So it was a really fun player to watch because every time he'd be at 20 HP, everyone else is 60 plus HP. And okay, well Aegon's gonna bottom 4, and he would land all the time in the top 4. It was pretty crazy.
What besides that? Was there any other interesting lessons or takeaways from this? Because I think obviously as we're starting to see so many changes hit with the mid-set update. So I don't know if you saw anything that you thought was particularly interesting come out of this.
I think it was really cool to see how strong the European players were. They, a lot of people debate NA versus EU. Actually, I'm curious on Polt's side. Do you have any beliefs on European players? They always say how they're stronger than North American players, and I'm sure you've played a lot in your lobbies as well against them.
I don't really know which region's stronger, but as far as I know, none of the European players took the rank on NA. So
that's right. That's right. I don't know if we have NA players who took #1 on Europe, but
we don't play there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
they come
right.
play on us practice, right?
Polt, were you in the qualifiers for this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What went wrong?
I was too tired. I didn't sleep well, so wasn't able to play well.
That sucks. Well, either way, it's cool to see another Giant Slayer tournament come to an exciting conclusion. And I really like the fact that we have this stuff constantly going, so that you can kind of always see how people are adapting to the meta, especially after these big changes. But I think that winds down our news, Frodan, unless I'm forgetting anything. But that's everything that we have in the notes.
That's pretty much most of the news. Do you want to give a shout out to Kiyun, who dominated the group stage? I think he didn't place outside of top 3 one game out of 16 lobbies or something like that. It was really absurd. And then he just completely busters out of this tournament 6th, 8th. He gets a 3rd, and then 8th, and then 6th. And then immediately goes to Twitter and says, "Wow, I pulled a Soju," and his Soju does pretty well. And all of a sudden, when it comes time to clutch, he kind of messes up. And then they kind of beefed a little bit on Twitter, which was fun. It's all fun in games. Those two love each other, obviously.
Yeah, that's good. Well, okay, we're done with news. Let's head on into the patch review. We're always lucky enough to be able to do this show on Wednesday, so we can take a look at the patch notes as they hit. And this one, I think Mort described it as it looks like a lot of changes, but it's not as dramatic as it seems because they're all kind of tiny tweaks, and they're not trying to really shake up the meta. But when you look at the picture of everything that got changed, it's oh my god, this is huge.
Yeah, the first biggest change that I would say is that first line that you see. This only pretty much applies to 0.1% of the TFT population, which is if you're ranked master or above, you can now only queue solo and ranked. This is actually a problem, and I'm sure Polt can actually talk about it. But there's a lot of win trading going on.
Well, I think it's
unironically.
We had Whitrock on previously, and that was one of the questions was about the win trading, and he at the time said like, "Hey, we're always looking at this stuff." So then it was really funny to me that like 2 weeks later we do the next episode of the show, and it's like, well, there you go. I guess I like to think our show was, and that specific question was what created this patch note.
That's right.
But Polt, yeah, I mean, what did you think when you saw this this change for Masters not being able to queue with anybody else?
So I heard some people actually like queue together, like in the same group and win trade, but I don't really know how it works because if like one person gains the LP, then the others, I mean, if they win trade, then the others likely to lose LP. So how can they keep queuing at the same time?
So basically, they're good enough to keep constantly queuing at Diamond because it takes a lot to demote out of Diamond 4, and you can get back to it very easily if you keep losing. And they just kept queuing Masters with Diamond players, and then those Diamond players would like kind of throw and get like 7th, 6th, 8th, and all the other players would at least be guaranteed 6th or higher because 2 other players in their party were getting bottom 2.
Then how about instead what's that, making it like that? How about like master players only can duel with like master or higher? How about that?
So you like the duo and trio queue option in TFT?
I mean, I don't really care, but I believe some people play it, so not having that kind of option might be not good for them, I guess.
I mean, I think.
But...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that the part of the problem is the competitive integrity of a ladder. Like, I actually agree with Polt completely. If ladder didn't matter nearly as much as it did, so I think part of the issue is that ladder standings integrity is like completely warped when you're allowed to queue with other people, and like not even necessarily you're win trading, but like it's tougher for people who aren't, right? So then it kind of creates this incentive where if you don't queue with somebody, then you are naturally like at a disadvantage over other people, and then you kind of creates this dynamic where TFT is supposed to be a free-for-all game, but you're kind of playing as a group, which goes against the spirit of what the competition is. So I think that this change ultimately is beneficial, and I like that they only include it for Masters because there's a lot of people that do play for the social aspect of it. There's people who that I play with that just like to queue up at Diamond or Platinum or Gold. And they just want to have fun and just like say like, oh, I want to try like Blade Master Bard and like get to level 9 by stage 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do silly stuff like that.
I know we are getting a little bit more static on Frodan's end, but we're working on that. I think it's interesting because to your point, Frodan, like this is maybe not as much of an issue in a world where like ladder standings are not used for so many things on the competitive side. So it kind of makes sense there. I mean, Polt, will you be making like other accounts so that you can do a queue on stream more and maybe in lower ranks? Like, I mean, how are you? Do you think you'll have like? Is this really upsetting to you?
No, I just mainly play on main anyways, and it's like very high challenger, so I can't really deal with other people. But yeah, maybe when I play on my second account, maybe I can like have fun. Anyways, it's like Diamond 1 right now, so I can still duel.
There you go. That's right. So talking about the buffs and the nerfs, the nerfs have been to some of the more like popular compositions. Cass takes a hit. She's the center of a lot of Vanguard Mystic builds. Echo and Fizz are like really powerful infiltrators right now and pretty busted. In fact, I think Fizz might have been the strongest like one cost in the game, or actually 1-star in the game at one point. And then the usual culprits. So is there anything that like you like or that surprises you, Polt, from the list of buffs and nerfs that we see here?
I think most of stuff is like very reasonable. So yeah, I think they are doing fine, but so I thought like one of those Thresh or Urgot was a little too much. I'm not sure if that Thresh nerf will be enough. Yeah.
You think Thresh needs to be nerfed even more?
Or Urgot. I mean, when
Or
Thresh
Urgot.
pulls that Urgot, it's too much.
It's too much.
So it's a
But you don't let
combination of the two
your
that they think.
guardian angel on your frontliner get completely destroyed because the person just pulled the Urga and your tank walked right into the range of it.
Just kills like no matter what that unit is, just one shot, right? So I don't know if there's anything I can do about it besides positioning, but positioning Thresh is much easier than positioning your tanks.
Well, I'm very curious. This is a very selfish and perhaps not important question to ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. I've been playing Astro Snipers a lot. Really like it. How bad is the Teemo change, and how good is the Bard change?
So mostly they nerf Teemo, but in terms of damage, only 3-star, and
Yeah.
the slow duration, I think it's totally fine. So Teemo's still good. And Bard, I didn't see the new animation, but I don't know. Since they buffed it, if you get it like so, for example, the first year PV rounds, it's gonna be so powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think like that was always what was frustrating for me playing Bard or running Bard is like, especially before you get him 2-star, if he doesn't like if he's just sitting there trying to slowly cast this thing and he just dies in the process, it just feels so bad. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about the 3-star Gnar health buff because I feel like that's just going to make him a monster. So and damage buff. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Very situational moments, but ones that I care about deeply. What else is on here, Frodan, that you thought was interesting, and I'd love to have Polt contest you since it seems like a lot of the changes don't stand out to him.
Yeah. How's my mic? Is this better?
It's a little too quiet. I think I'm still hearing a little bit of static, so maybe bring it back up
too
again.
quiet and it's too staticky.
Yeah,
Man.
I think when you unplugged and plugged back in earlier, that seemed to get it going for a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't know. While you're troubleshooting that, yeah. So you mentioned the Thresh changes not being and the Urgot changes maybe not being enough. Was there anything else that you wanted to see, Polt, that isn't on this list?
Kind of wanna see how Battlecast's gonna do. I mean, I haven't played a single game yet after the new patch, so I don't know how they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I just wanna see how well they will do because no one played Battlecast comp.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm super curious, and I think what's probably really difficult is to get a sense of, because all the changes are just little tweaks, like where we'll see big changes in the meta. Because I mean, Mart I think has frequently said that like this is the type of game where you just tweak a couple little things and suddenly it has like this cascade effect across a bunch of different stuff. So I'm curious. Do you think, Polt, that there are going to be any compositions that we'll see, fall down a little bit more or run a lot more frequently?
But I mean, since they're not changing the number that much, I think most of comps will be like still strong, like the popular things like Cybers or the Rebels and everything. But like there's like two synergies they buffed, which is the Battlecast and the Darkstar.
Yeah.
I don't think Darkstar buff is enough, but Battlecast might do well, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
what makes you say that?
Oh, go ahead.
Hmm?
Why do you
I
think
was just
Battlecast
asking.
will do what better?
Because I mean, I think it has their units pretty good, like Cassiopeia or got like Victor or like even Kog'Maw. Maybe like Illaoi and Nocturne, but their N is one coast, so it doesn't really matter in my opinion. The problem was there are like not many units they can play with. So when you play 6 rebels, you can add like a couple more units and they get so much more powerful. But for Battlecast, it was not like that. But since they got buffs now, I think if you find some good units to have good synergy with, they will be pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a ton of Battlecast units got little buffs. So to your point, yeah, it feels like maybe a buff to the synergy plus some tweaks on all the different units in that synergy will perhaps see it rise up. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, it does seem like Battlecast has good quality units. Like Victor's great. Everyone knows how good Urgot is. Kog'Maw is not a bad unit. It's just that you want to play Jinx or Lucian or as like
Mhm.
you just want to play better stuff because the Battlecast tag was bad, and therefore Cog would hold the items, and then you transition to Rebel Blaster or Brawler Blasters or something else.
Yeah.
But hopefully with these buffs, it just makes you so that you either have more pivot options or you can actually transition and splash in Battlecast and it's relevant. Right now, it's kind of a meme where like if you get a 2 Battlecast, you basically didn't do anything. Like 70 healing is like cool when your opponent's like,
Yeah.
Bane's like critting you for like 1,000 on the hit. So it's like, okay, yeah, like 70 health, not a big deal. So yeah, I think like the 8 Battlecast stuff probably not going to be like. I mean, maybe it's good. I don't know if you get a spatula, but it does look impressive now when you have that much triggering on 8 different units.
What do you think of the new Galaxy Polt binary star? Only 2 items on a champion.
I don't know about that either. Anyways, third items for most of champions, it's like an option. So as long as you have 2 good items, that champion's gonna do more than enough. So maybe it's not that necessary. But for example, something like which makes so powerful, like with the third item, like mech or stuff like that, it might be bad. So when you play on that Galaxy, like you just need to play around those stuff. But I mean, most of cases, it'll be probably almost same to the normal one.
Yeah, it's interesting on some of these galaxies. Like, I kind of wish, and I don't know, maybe I will find that I really like binary star, but for the most part, it usually feels bad when you read about a galaxy where that limits your capabilities in the game rather than giving you extras, right? Like when you're getting a ton of extra items, for instance, that feels really fun because now you unlock all this stuff, or I don't know, when you can re-roll for free, it's like, oh, but whenever they're like, now you have less stuff you can do in a thing, that sometimes it feels like I'm less excited to get that type of galaxy. So I don't know, it's interesting.
I totally agree with you. So when I think I play more fun when I play on like when I have more options like Treasure Trove, Galaxy Armory, or the Star Cluster, those kind of stuff, than the
Yeah.
like Little Legend or the set those like
Yes.
Nicoverse, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And theoretically, Nicoverse gives you additional options, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't feel that
Not really,
impactful.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like Nicoverse. I think it's actually a really good galaxy. And now that we've seen it play out, but we're not here to really debate that. Medium Legends Galaxy. Are you happy to see that go away, Polt?
Yeah, I'm so happy.
You're so happy. Wow.
I mean, after seeing that numbers, I didn't play that well on Medium
yes,
Legend.
that's what I was about to say.
Why not?
Like, we now have the data to show that it's
Mhm.
a good situation for him to have that
Right.
depart.
So buff the Polt.
Win rate will go up.
Yeah. The miscellaneous text, by the way, is not irrelevant. The minimum number of items, I think, in terms of components, was 11, and
Mhm.
so you would always sometimes have these games where it's like, why do I have this like random 1 glove or random like
I hate
1
that,
sword that I
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
use? So raising that number of items to 1 just makes it feel more satisfying, and I think it was because they started introducing carousels in the late game where half of them had full complete items and half of them had single items. So if you wanted to complete it, it gave you options. But that was like so far deep into the game. And right now the meta is like so aggressive that you rarely get to see that ever. So you just have this floating component that at best is a cybernetics buff. But at worst is just kind of a floating stat that that you wish was completed.
Yeah,
So
it's
this is
like, I guess I'll put this armor on my tank. That's what I can do with this. So yeah, no, I agree with that exactly. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much rounds out the patch, unless I'm forgetting anything. But I think it's an interesting patch in that there's no like major. There's a ton of changes, but not a lot to like deep dive into. So we'll have to see how things go. I assume that soon enough somebody will figure out a way to break it, and so then we'll be talking about how like
that's right.
Battlecast Cassiopeia situation is just completely OP or something. I don't know, but we'll find out how that goes. That moves us into, I believe, the final section of the show. Well, we'll have some questions at the end, but the only major thing left is Polt's tier list, which is I'm excited because Polt, maybe not as trash talky as some of the other people that we've had on before. So I'm excited to see how you manage this. So Frodan, you're the game master. You want to lay out the rules?
All right, it's pretty straightforward. We basically ask players on this podcast to come on and rank the top 10 players within their region. We've been mainly focusing on North American players for the first 8 episodes here. And we've been asking players like Soju and Mismatch Socks and others to just kind of rank who they feel like is top 10. It can just, and you can divide it up. Some people say like, oh, these 3 players and then a big gap and then like a tier below and whatnot. It's just a fun way to bring up discussion on each player's perspective on who they think is good and why they think they're good. So you obviously are free to put yourself in the top 10. Most people do. And so I wanted to ask, what's your top 10 players in North America?
So let me scroll through like who's like high ranked right now. And
look at the LOL chest.
I mean, I don't think like all of those like top 10 players in this rank 10 are like necessarily like the best 10 players, right?
Okay.
So
yeah, exactly. It could be whatever you say it is. It could be the top 10 players right now. It could be the top 10 players from the entire set. It could be top 10 players
all time.
Of all
yeah.
time in the past year.
Okay. So the game keeps changing. Not only those like this mid-set update, but also there's like always consistent patch, right? Every other week. And every time when the game changes, I think like who's stronger or who's weaker keep changing as well, depending on how they adjust or adapt. And right now, or I mean, when I think about the general ideas, like, so what I'm saying is, even though like let's say there's a new like whole new set like set 4 or 5, I think like some people will still do well, and one of them is GV8.
Ooh.
So is he your number 1?
I mean, not necessarily number 1. There's like a couple more players.
Right. We can put people there, and then you can rearrange them if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put Grand Vice 8. GV8 is very good, and as Inferior says in chat, very sweaty.
Plus there's Socks.
Okay, Mismatch Socks, great choice. I think Socks should make most people's top 10, if not all of them.
And Keen.
I've
actually heard people talk about Keen. Do you talk to Keen, Polt, at all?
I mean, not like talking to him, but I watch him, so.
Okay.
I think I can pick those 3 first.
Okay. We might. I think our producer may have. Okay, yeah.
There we are. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then we've got 7 more to go.
Yeah, and let's see. I mean, the familiar name I can pick is I can pick like a couple more here.
Okay.
Is Milk.
Okay, I was wondering if you would just start to leave Milk out, which yeah.
And Kiyun.
Kiyun.
Yeah.
You sound so surprised.
I think Kiyun has proven in the past few weeks in particular how good he is. So there's no complaint. I have no complaints about this top 10 so far.
Okay.
We have 5 more spots, which is where I'm curious when, if ever, Polt will put himself in top 10.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like it's like I'm trying to find people. I'm like, are you going to mention yourself?
Right. And then I can already think of like 7 or 8 other people I would put in contention. So we're going to leave some people out, which is great. And I want Polt to continue.
Okay, let's name a couple more.
Okay.
Kurum.
Yeah, Kurum X.
And Soju.
All right, Soju sneaks in there.
So we're at 7, so we got 3 more left.
3 more? Oh, yeah. These 3 will be difficult.
Is there would you say there's a gap after this?
I mean, I'll talk about it when I arrange those players.
Okay.
Since I don't really see many names yet, let's put myself there.
Great.
And 2 more?
Yes.
Yes.
We need a filler music for this segment as people are contemplating the trivia.
I like how much thought he's putting into it. Usually some people just rattle off their friends of like, okay, who's the person? Like, let's go to my Discord message history and just like pick 10 people here.
Yeah.
Okay. I got one more. Saint.
Okay. Ooh, Saint Vicious. We haven't heard him being brought up.
Yeah, he's not been on these lists previously. That's cool for him to see that. One more to go.
One more.
Yeah, I do want to ask more about Saint of why he picked him in particular, because other people leave him off their list, but I want him Polt to finish the list first.
And soon we will find out who that final person is.
Okay. Soulless.
Soulless. Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. So Polt can stay in lobby 2 Discord channel. There you go.
So what is your methodology going to be for now ranking all these? Because you've created the list. Now you need to order them.
Okay.
I need to order them.
Yes.
Well, would you change anything about this ordering?
I think it's fine.
Okay. We're committing to
it.
It's fine.
I do want to ask about Saint Vicious. A lot of people leave him off the tier list. What do you think makes him a really strong player in particular?
I value that a player can climb up the rank pretty consistently, especially when they stream. I mean,
Got it.
I don't necessarily know if that player is gonna play better when they play off stream or like perfectly 100% focused, but they have a good chance to do better, right? So
right.
I kind of give like more points when they stream, especially on main.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is kind of like a top 10 streamers.
Because they have this advantage by streaming their games. So.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that helps contextualize a lot.
I really like it because nobody's really talked about that previously. They haven't factored that into like the list creation. So I think that's cool that you're giving that buff out. It certainly helps with the conversation a little bit. So
I like it. I like that justification for it. The only question is there any gaps in here? Is there a couple of players that you think separate from the rest? Do you think like top 3, top 4?
It's not necessarily a gap, but I think I can like divide them into some groups. What I'm saying is, so those 3 people on top, I think they're gonna be just good no matter what.
Like
you transcend all metas.
Yeah,
they're just consistently good. Okay.
But so that means they're gonna be best in all metas. Okay. So for example, like there's Giyun, right? In certain meta, Giyun can be stronger than those players. But at the same time, if the meta changes, then Giyun can also be weaker than them. So for example, let's say like forcing like Dark Star or like Mech Infill, that kind of brings the best trade in the game, then Giyun probably plays better than like the others. So
interesting. Okay.
I think players have like different strong points and weak points. So like those top 3 players quite balanced. So you showed me that what's that diagram thing? They are like those 3 are balanced ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're very balanced. GV8's profile in particular is like it's like a perfect pentagram where it just looks everything's very spread out. So
nice.
Polt, out of curiosity here, maybe you want to share, maybe you don't, but what do you think your weaknesses as a player are?
My weakness?
Medium legends.
I think I worry about like the getting behind too much. So it was almost same when I played StarCraft 2, it was same. So when I play the best is when I have the a lead. I mean, it doesn't have to be like getting ahead of like economy or anything, but controlling the game. I don't know, kind of difficult to explain, but when I like figure out, okay, if this goes in the way like that I like pictured before the game, then I win. I have something like that, and it's same in TFT. But I mean, yeah, I also have things like that when I'm behind, but I just don't like that much because it has like much lower chance to make it successful. And maybe because I don't want to be put in a situation like that, I spend too much resource in the middle of the game. I think that's my weakness.
You're maybe risk adverse. You're afraid of taking risks.
Yeah, I'm afraid of taking risks.
Yeah, that's right. Aegon's like, I pile it on.
Exactly.
10 HP, stage 5. Let's do this.
Yeah. Win streaking at the gates of hell, I think is the way I would put it. Either way. Well, okay, so I think we've finished the top 10 player list. So now we just have to close out the show a couple of mailbag questions. So the first one for Polt comes from Eric Thomas, which is, what made you adopt the strategy of early leveling to increase chances of getting an epic unit, then just doing the standard, which was early econ at the time? So what made you decide to switch to that kind of early leveling strat?
There was one unit which was very OP out of all the 4 coasts. She was Valkyrie and Blade Master at the same time. And so if you find Kale early game, it was just like almost free win. I mean, free top 4. That made me do it so often. So I mean, yeah, sometimes you find random Kale and you just play. Doesn't matter. You don't have any synergy or item. She just carries you. Like,
are you happy she's out of the game?
Like, no, I really enjoyed playing Kale. But anyways, because it gave me huge advantage, I always leveled up early. But now, since we don't have a union like that, maybe it's not that good anymore.
Okay, the next question comes from Will, which is, how do high elo players like yourself theorycraft? From getting an idea to its adoption, what happens? Discussions with other pros. So yeah, just the big question is like, how do you theorycraft, and how do you get like an idea, and then what makes you decide that you can go for it?
I usually watch like streams or VODs. I think watching VOD helps me a lot. When I played StarCraft, I watched almost all of my replays, but there's no replay here, so I watch my VODs. And when I watch my VODs, I can think much more than that I saw like when I was playing the game. So I mean, let's say I get like 6th or 7th, and I know, oh, I messed up here, so I got top 6 or 7, blah blah blah. But when you actually watch it again, you find out much more things. So I think it is probably one of the best important things. And plus, talking to other people helps a lot in that way. Because when you just see it by yourself, you might not realize that there were like a lot of different kind of ways. But if there's like 1 or 2 more people watching it together, you can see much more broad ways. Because as I said, like even though like there's like quite balanced players, like those players I named, they might miss something. Because always, so for example, if they played Mech Infill, and if like Gion watch it together, Gion can point out more stuff. So when there's more people, there's higher chance to figure out those stuff.
Actually, Frodan, I remember Hearthstone had a couple fun ones where you guys would have multiple people play a deck and have like conversations between them. And I wonder if that wouldn't be an interesting format in TFT. I mean, obviously it's a lot crazier whenever it's 8 teams rather than just like two people, but it is kind of fun to imagine something like that. Unless I'm stupid and that's happened and I've forgotten about it.
Team tournaments have happened. We've actually done Twitch rival team tournaments in Auto Battlers, and I do think it's very fun. I also will say that it does sound like a great segment for the show. So I think co-oping is definitely a really fun aspect of TFT, and it should be explored more. But it does introduce, like we're talking about, the very first Twitch rivals for TFT. We actually had some controversy because some streamers had like a team of people scouting and coaching them during this, and this was really high profile. It was like 400K people watching across all the channels, and it was like a lot of money on the line. It was a pretty big controversy because some players were playing by themselves, and other people just had like everyone watching other people's boards, tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And like
No,
scouting.
Saint showed up in my chat during when I was at Twitch Rivals at TwitchCon and was giving me some advice. And I still sucked, but it probably helped me out a little bit. So it's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, the other question I had before we move on to the next one is do you think there's many people that do VOD review in TFT? Because I mean, obviously this exists a lot in other places, but I'm curious how widespread it's used in TFT. And I guess a question for either of you, Frodan, we'll start. Have you heard anything about this?
Not really that much. I just pass it to Polt and see if he.
Yeah, Polt. I mean, obviously you're doing it, but do you know if a lot of the other players are rewatching their games and reviewing them and thinking about what they could have done differently?
I think some people do it, but I believe they don't watch that many games like me. So like if they play 10 games, they may watch like 2 or 3, but probably not more than that.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. It seems like there's a lot more of an attitude to just jam more games and grind. And like if you can identify 1 or 2 mistakes, just focus on fixing that. Because it's kind of what Bolt was saying, which is if you watch your VODs, you'll probably start to identify dozens of mistakes you've made. Like, oh, this one positioning cost me. Oh, I missed this in the shop. This was the wrong time to level. I could have just made this item and it would have been so much better. Oh, I shouldn't have made this item. I would have been so much better off too. And then it starts to become a little overwhelming. So I think for some people, like, focus, they have so many holes in their gameplay that sometimes, you gotta focus on a few things instead of just too many things.
Yeah. I can't relate to that.
I have so many holes in my game that I need to fix that it's very hard. It's overwhelming to think how many mistakes I'm making every game.
Okay. So for fun, this was added to the show notes as for fun Ari questions. So the first question is from Van Toren, and it's what about Ari sets her apart from all other units as the cutest?
Isn't she? I mean, everyone just knows that she's the cutest. Do I even need to explain?
Why does it need to be explained, you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, just see her and hear her voice. You just think she's the cutest.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I mean, physical appeal and voice, you're saying, yeah. And then the next question is from Candor, which is, now that Timo is in TFT, is Ari still the cutest?
Let's say Ari's the cutest female and Timo is the cutest male.
Okay. That's a very diplomatic answer. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Well, and what a great way to end the show, but on such an analytical and thoughtful discussion as Ari being cute. That is winding things down for episode 8. We'll go ahead and do a couple quick shout outs. Frodan, anything you want to shout out?
Yes, I want to shout out the Cloud9 tournament that's going to start in a couple weeks. I believe it actually starts, I think, on the day we're doing Teamfight Talkshow again. So we will have to figure out the schedule, the conflict of schedules.
Well, yeah, they'll have to move it, I think. That's unfortunate for Cloud9.
Yeah, they shouldn't really mess with the #1 podcast in TFT.
Yes.
So we'll have to figure that out, but definitely looking forward to that. And I'll be casting it with Doa. So make sure to tune in for that.
Looking forward to it. Polt, anything you want to shout out? Your stream or when you stream or I don't know, anything that you want to throw out there?
Oh yeah, I kind of recently moved my stream schedule, so streaming from the morning right now. So if you guys didn't know that, then you can check my Twitch channel or Twitter to make that sure. And I'm just so excited to play this new game. It's been more than like 2 months, I believe, and I'm still enjoying this game TFT so much, and I'm really looking forward to playing more and even competing on the stage.
Awesome. Wow, well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Hopefully, everyone can start competing on the stage eventually, instead of at their computers in their rooms. But either way, thanks so much, Polt and Frodan, for the show. For me, my shout outs, you can follow me on social media. You can find me. I'm gonna go grab food. Yeah, it's right there. I'm hungry. Either way, thanks everyone for watching Teamfight Talk Show. Shout out to Giant Slayer, and we'll catch you next time.